Hello. Hey, remember like a while ago, there was a famous quote, and I'm going to mess it up because I don't remember the exact quote. And I don't even think it was a legitimate quote. And honestly, it's not a famous quote, but it is for us because we're psychos and we love the Golden Knights and we love hockey. And guess what? Chandler Stevenson said something along the lines of, we just need to grab our balls and go out and get it. Well, guess what? The Golden Knights grabbed the series by the nutsack today and ripped it down and said, here we go. It's our series now. We don't give a shit about your injuries. We don't give a shit about your whiteout. We don't give a shit about whatever else. Your comebacks, I guess, would be the other one. No. Grab the nuts of the series, squeeze, and hold on. And now let's go win this thing in 5. So it makes it easier on everybody. Most importantly, not my travel. Let's have the Golden Knights have less travel. Let's not have them having to come back here and having to play on Saturday. We got a couple days off here today. We've coming up these next couple of days now that we don't play again until Thursday. As I look at my computer and it says it's Tuesday now in this time zone, it's very confusing. However, it's still Monday in your time zone that you're watching this in. I'm assuming most of you are home in Vegas, but that game was so obviously you're expecting them to have some sort of a push. By the way, look at the ambiance in the Marlboro Hotel today. I actually had to go a different way because we needed to actually have it lit up. Last time it was light out when we did this. We were not today. Shout out to the Marlboro Hotel, and we'll talk more about the sponsors that are made it possible for me to be here. But you absolutely knew that coming into this game, you're going to get a lot more out of the Jets. They're going to give it everything they've got. Usually you get that superstar injury push right after it. I thought we were going to get a little bit of that. I certainly thought they're going to be dangerous in this game. Didn't mean I thought the Golden Knights weren't going to win. If you go back to Discord, I said the Golden Knights were going to win. I really said the Golden Knights were going to win at the end of one period. I said they're going to win the series right now in period 2. That's exactly what happened, and I still believe that it happened. Wow, where are you? 6:30 in the morning. Were you in Europe or something? Where are you? Fantastic. Yes. Thank you, Brandon. Get home for Giordano's. Way to go. And shout out to Midnight Lobster, always sending us the super chats. Really appreciate that stuff. Thank you for everybody who went to Giordano's. That's awesome. We'll talk a little bit about that. I need to hear more about that. Hopefully, maybe we could talk about that at another time. But that's awesome. I'm pumped. I wish I was there. It would have been fun. I had a good time here, to be honest. But you knew they were going to get their push. You knew that you were going to get a difficult effort. They're probably going to hit a lot. They're probably going to come out fiery. They're going to try to get their crowd into it. They did a pretty good job of that. Obviously, that breakdown, I want to figure out exactly what happened on that breakdown that allowed the Scheifele opportunity up the middle, because that could have been a problem. Yes, look at this. Oh, wait, where is it? I'm sick of it. Everybody's sick of it. Everybody needs to dig deeper, grab their nuts, and work. Yeah, that's exactly right. And today, everyone needed to dig deep, grab their nuts, and grab the series by the nuts, or don't grab your own nuts. Enough about nuts. But that play, that's a huge save from Brossoit, not only because it stops a goal from happening, obviously, it ends up knocking Scheifele seemingly out of the series, or, well, that hasn't been made official yet, but he scores that goal and makes that move, and Brossoit doesn't read that. He's not crashing into the boards, and we're dealing with him the rest of the series. And obviously pretty quickly looked pretty good in that. He's certainly good in the power play. He's been a problem at different times. Hasn't been his best series. Obviously we're not rooting for injuries, but the fact is he makes the stop and the injury happens because he makes the stop. Let's not give that opportunity up. And there were a couple of other ones. Another one from Wheeler that ends up, that when he ends up, they score on the wing there, but they had a couple of other opportunities. It's a slap shot from Wheeler. There was another one. I want to say Dubois had an opportunity coming in. So all of it, Brossoit was there to make these stops, and it kind of bailed the Golden Knights out early in that period. Now, as the period wore on, and this is where I want to get into kind of topic number 1, because I'm trying to get some disagreement out of the coaches. We have a little bit, but we don't have the Pete DeBoer situation. We don't have the thing going on in Tampa. And it's not necessarily what I was expecting today, but I was interested in what Cassidy was going to say, is that in that first period, while I thought the Jets had possession of the puck, maybe a little bit more, they actually put the number up on the screen and it was pretty much the same. I think they had about a minute more than Vegas, maybe like 10.5 to 9.5 or something like that. I thought the Golden Knights, outside of the rush chances, did a really good job of keeping it to the outside. And what was happening is early in the period, the Jets were unable to get shots through. They were unable to get opportunities with players in front. They were really not able to do much of anything. As the period wore on, though, all of a sudden, they're getting their tip chances, and they're tipping them over. They're tipping them wide. They're getting these opportunities, and you can start to see if we end up giving those up more and more and more, we're going to be in a big time problem. So we come out in the second period, and like the first, there's no zone time at all for the Jets for a nice portion of the game. Obviously, in the first period, it was 2 minutes. They get that opportunity, and then the game opens up. Second period, it ends up being like 4.5 because of the power play that Eichel draws, which is, again, driving towards the dangerous ice, and he draws that trip. So it's like, then, okay, they don't have anything, which really does kind of slow the crowd down a little bit. Now they start getting into the zone. They start generating. And when they were generating in that second period, the Golden Knights were doing a good job, again, of getting sticks in lanes, challenging sticks when guys were coming into the middle, and making sure that those tip chances are not finding their way on goal. And I think bigger of all of it in today's game defensively, what I really love defensively, was there were multiple times where the Golden Knights would either lose a stick battle or guys too big. Dubois is a big guy. Niederreiter's a big guy. Lowry's a big guy. They end up back there, and they have the puck underneath the goal. Not once were they able to complete a pass from underneath the goal to anywhere. Like, we look at the house, which is right in front of the goal and kind of out to the dots. It wasn't even close. And like, mostly the house is a little bit shrunk in the middle there. They were having a hard time passing the puck through the circle. Like, it was only coming out around the boards and back out. And now they have guys too wide. They have guys that are challenged in the middle. Like, defensively, that was a really, really good effort. It's important to note. And I do think that we cannot go too overboard about this. They're missing Ehlers. They're missing Scheifele. They're missing, or is Ehlers? Nick Ehlers. Yes, sorry. Ehlers. They're missing Scheifele. They're missing Morrissey. They're even missing Cole Perfetti, who arguably is in their top 5 or 6 offensively. So if you were to take out Alex Pietrangelo, Riley Smith, and Jack Eichel, yeah, the Golden Knights wouldn't be the same, or Will Carlson, or Marchessault, or whatever. Take out 3 of their top 5, 6, 7 offensive players. They're not going to look the same. So we do have to put some of that in there. But then it goes to the dichotomy, I guess, between the two coaches, which is 5-on-5 play and getting the better of the chances. But before I tell you about that, the question that I asked to Bruce Cassidy, that he gave a 2-word answer to, which was funny, then repeated it. So I guess it was a 3-word answer, but 2 of the words were repeated. I'm going to tell you that this Periscope is brought to you by Conler & Associates CPAs. Conler CPAs are my favorite CPAs in Las Vegas. They're a family-owned business. They're diehard Golden Knights fans. They're bin ballers. Gary has won bin ball twice. Huge SinBin fans, huge supporters of the site, and I hope you will support them too by bringing your business to them. Trust me, they are fantastic with your taxes. If you have business taxes, crypto taxes, gambling taxes, anything that is not all that easy, or heck, if it is easy, go to conlercpa.com, tell them SinBin sent you, and they will hook you up with a free consultation. They can help you with all your taxes. You will not regret it. I promise you, they are fantastic. So, 5-on-5 chances. Obviously, going back to game 1, the Golden Knights were a disaster, basically all the way through it. They just were not there. They were not breaking out. They were not getting into the zone. Dump-ins were not good. There were lots of concerns after game 1. It was not good enough. It was very different to game 1 in Winnipeg 5 years ago, which is going to come up later in not only this Periscope, but also a story that I'm going to write today. I'm going to stay up all night writing that thing because I think it's good, and we need to get that thing on the site ASAP. And I have a flight tomorrow morning, and I'm going on a show in the morning from the airport. Hopefully I can find somewhere, and that won't be a disaster. Fingers crossed for me. Winnipeg Airport, please have good Wi-Fi that I can stream video. So in that game, the Golden Knights were poor. In the game 1 back 5 years ago against the Jets here, the Golden Knights were poor for 10 minutes and then were good for 50. And they didn't quite get back in that game, but they shouldn't have left that game feeling bad. Game 1, the Golden Knights should have left feeling bad. And then game 2, we get period 1, and the Golden Knights again should feel bad. It's important to note, in those periods, they had more of their players. They were in a better spot. They still had Scheifele on the wing. Niederreiter was down there. Lowry's playing well. Like, they were getting a lot more at that time than what they have now. They're not the same team anymore. And that's where the second period and the third period, that's where the Golden Knights really started to take control of that series, take control of that game. And they did it at 5-on-5. Better exits, better neutral zone play, both offensively and defensively. And that led to not having to dump the puck in nearly as much. And it started to back them off so that when the Golden Knights did have to dump it in, their forecheck was a little bit more consistent, a little bit more powerful, and getting the job done. So that is sort of something that happened in that period. It went on to the third. It continued on to a degree for the first period up here. And then the second period, the Golden Knights were terrific up here in game 3. So as that went on, we're starting to see that 5-on-5 play really look good. Now, we end up with this goofy third period last game where they score these 4 goals, and Cassidy went back to it again today and said, you know what, I still don't think we were in a bad position. I agree. I also don't think they were that bad. But when you're leading by 3, you're on the road, the building's going nuts. You give one up early. That's, a little bit of a nice shot, but maybe we want to save on that one. You end up kind of going into a little bit more of your shell. You're not pushing as hard offensively, and we're not going to win 5-on-5 play at that moment. Game gets tied. Immediately, for 21.9 seconds, the Golden Knights come out and slam it down their throats again, drawing a penalty to start the overtime. First overtime the Golden Knights have played this season in the postseason. They get to start it with a power play. Really settles you down. I wrote an article about that. A couple of guys mentioned it to me. I think it's very important. And it's also, in my opinion, a mistake from Bowness. That should have been a timeout. They had just tied the game. There's 20 seconds left. Take your time out, you dummy. Sorry, I shouldn't call him a dummy. Rick Bowness seems like an awesome dude. I shouldn't call him a dummy. But in that particular case, I thought he should have taken the timeout. Let the crowd go nuts. Let your guys settle back down and tell them, hey, we just got to get across the finish line and not do something dumb here. Instead, he didn't. They did something dumb, and here we are. Granted, I thought the Golden Knights generated that something dumb. Again, 5-on-5 play. Golden Knights get a good chance, take advantage of it. Then we move on to overtime. And while I thought live, and I think I said it on the Periscope last time, that I thought the period was pretty close, if not maybe a little bit better by the Jets. Having rewatched it, having dove into the numbers and understanding the combination of the two together, the Golden Knights were better in 5-on-5 in that period. That's another period that's tied. We start the second intermission. The Golden Knights are better at 5-on-5 at the beginning of that period, and they get the opportunity there. So to me, they've been better at 5-on-5. Obviously today, first period's fairly close, but I thought defensively the Golden Knights were better. Second period, the Golden Knights are clearly better. They get the multiple goals. And then the third period, they're doing what they need to do to hold on to that lead, especially again at even strength. So Bowness comes up and says the chances are even at 5-on-5. We just need some of them to go in. And meanwhile, I then quote that basically to Cassidy. And I said, are you getting the better of it, especially at 5-on-5? And this is a guy who usually will give minute-and-a-half long answers to anything and make sure he's very focused on answering your question. This time, he just said, I do. Yes, I do think we're getting or he just said, yes, I do. And that was it. Stopped. He did think they're getting the better chances. Interesting to me that he did not want to go down that path. He just flat out backed his own team, said we're getting the better chances. I completely agree with him. It's just interesting to me that the other side is not necessarily thinking that. And it's important to note they're probably trying to kind of make sure that they don't take on too much water here, down 3-1. They clearly came into the postgame. I didn't hear their players, but there were multiple questions about it to the coach about what the players had said, where they're basically saying we can't win 3 games in a row, we can't win 3 games at one time. They do think they can win 3 in a row. That's not what I'm saying. They can't win 3 games at one time, so they're trying to take it one game at a time. I think they're pretty well aware. Scheifele's not going to play. Bowness mentioned coming up with new lines. He's not going to play. Ehlers probably not going to play. And Morrissey's definitely not playing. Perfetti's almost certainly not playing. So they're going to come back into Vegas in a much different atmosphere with, the Golden Knights with an opportunity to close this thing out. And it's flat out. I mean, the home game versus road game. Vegas is now getting last change with their much better balanced lines at the moment. And we'll see how that goes over the course of the entirety of the playoffs. But for now, the Golden Knights have matchup issues across the line for the Jets. Like, they offer so many different problems that you can mitigate a little bit up here when you have last change. You can't when they come back. The Golden Knights are in a great spot, like could not be in a better spot. As I fly back from Winnipeg, and I am here in Winnipeg, thanks to Vegas Night and Day Heating and Cooling. Look at that transition right into the other ad. They've sent me on the road they're sending me on the road. They've sent me on the road already. They're sending me on the road all postseason long. We'll be doing Periscopes from all over the place in fancy hotels like the Marlboro as many times as we can, thanks to Vegas Night and Day Heating and Cooling. Go to vkdac.com and show your support of SinBin by booking your pre-summer maintenance special. It's an awesome deal. They're coming out to your house, check on your heating and cooling systems, and make sure that they fix it before it breaks, because once they break, it's a disaster. Granted, if it does break, they'll fix that too. vkdac.com, awesome company, awesome people, big Golden Knights fans as well. Literally kind of name definitely name their business after the team. I think as we get back home, there's not a lot that needs to change. I think there's a couple of things that we can kind of look at that at different times I thought there's too much time in the defensive zone, and that was kind of leading to some of the breakouts were a little bit not great at different times today. We got to see something going on with Marchessault. We're not getting a lot of him. I saw him out on the ice way longer than he normally is in warm-ups today, seemingly maybe trying something different. I haven't seen him speak. Usually he's a guy that's going to speak quite a bit, so we haven't seen that. I think he's kind of just not quite there yet. I'd love for a game 5 for him to get there and make that, kind of take a step forward. Eichel's been pretty good, so for Eichel to be good and not necessarily have a great run so far for Marchessault, I think that's probably good for the team long term, but at the moment you'd like to get him going. You don't really want to go in, especially if it's the Kings, with some concern about, are we going to get anything out of Marchessault? And then the Senators could end up having a tough series if we end up seeing the Kings. If it's Edmonton, I would assume we're going to get some goals, but we have a much different situation. I don't want to go too far ahead on that yet because we're not through this series yet. The lineup, got to leave it exactly as it is. I wrote about it today. I like the fact that there is this offensive ripcord. I'm interested to see how much he has to go to it today. Obviously, he did not. That's a benefit, which is basically that there's 3 lines with 3 pairs of players, Marchessault and Eichel, Stone and Stevenson, and then Carlson and Smith. And then there's an extra on each line. It's Amadio on the first line at the moment. It's Kessel with the Misfits at the moment. It's Howden with Stone and Stevenson. And that one is looking really good, especially recently and especially today. But that also offers, okay, well, if we need some offensive zone time, if we need to make something happen here, we can now go to Carlson, Marchessault, Smith, and then Eichel, Stevenson, Stone, or I guess it would be Stevenson, Eichel, Stone, whatever. You understand what I'm saying. It has that option. I don't want that to become the main option, because right now they're doing this series with depth. They're winning this series with depth, and they're doing it by playing everyone when the other team can't. The other team does not have enough options to score because they're missing so much of their offense. Wheeler, Scheifele, Morrissey. I can't stop mentioning that because they're missing a ton of offense. And when they're missing the offense, they're now relying on Lowry. They're now relying more on Niederreiter. They're getting very little out of Nemesnikov, who has been good on the season. So without that offense, the Golden Knights have a great opportunity to basically say, all right, whoever has to go up against the Dubois-Connor line, and it's been Niederreiter, and he's been pretty good on it, they just have to be even. We just have to get out of this without them killing us. They've done that for 3 games in a row now without them killing them. And it's not necessarily that the centers on the ice against those guys are doing too much more. They're just not getting beat up by that line. And even last game, they did give up a goal on there. So that's where in this series, that's going to work. They have to continue with that. I would assume they will continue with that. Defensively, the 6 have been strong. They've been solid. They're doing their jobs. A little bit concerned about McNabb. He had the ribs or midsection or something injury that happened in game 2. He then banged it up again today, missed a couple of shifts, definitely looked like he was struggling on the bench, then missed the 4-on-4 and then comes back out of a TV timeout, and he's Braden McNabb. But I did think we haven't seen the physicality necessarily out of him. I would like to see that come back. I don't know. Theodore all of a sudden joins the party today. Thought he was Vegas's best player. Goal goes away because I'm assuming that's Barbashev's goal. I don't understand how it hasn't gone to him yet, but whatever. He was good. Like, he's driving offense a little bit more, certainly more involved in what they were trying to do once it got across the blue line. I still think against some heavier forecheckers, against a team that's going to be better than this team, at least the version of this team we're getting at the moment, it's not going to be easy. Like, yes, we feel really good about where the Golden Knights are. We feel really good about the position that we're going to hopefully be in after Thursday. And if they do have to come back, I get it, so be it. It's going to suck and takes more time, but I would rather it's just over in 5 and get those extra days off. But push comes to shove, the Golden Knights can't really, if they blow this, they're not a very good team. Like, let's just put it that way. If we have any hope of them getting the job done moving forward, they're going to get this thing done. They're in a really good spot. Like, you can't draw it up too much better than this. I guess the only thing would be better if Hellebuck's all of a sudden not there, and he hasn't even been that good. Like, he was good in the power play today, but he hasn't really been all that good. So no, I don't buy the tickets until the series are set. So no, I have not. I'll take this one now. If the Golden Knights advance, who would I rather they play? I'm still on the LA train. I think I'd rather play LA. You guys have known this for a while, especially this season, that I'm a believer in expected goals. I'm a believer in advanced analytics will win you games. So far in this series, the team with more expected goals is 4-0 every single game. I told you this was going to happen. And I told you, I think the Golden Knights are going to start winning that stat more often than not. They're doing it all of a sudden. Here we are at the better time. I think the Golden Knights would do it against the Kings as well. It's not going to be an easy series. I'm not sure that they're actually going to even win the series. We'll see if we get there. I might feel differently about the Kings if they get 2 more wins and close that thing out. I do know Edmonton scares me a lot. Offensively, look at what they're doing to the Kings. And I understand that, like, it hasn't been easy. I get that. But the Kings play a system that is much, much more difficult to get through consistently, and it really limits their offense. The Golden Knights don't play that way. The Golden Knights will give you offensive zone time. And if you live down there against Edmonton, I just don't like the setup at all. And I understand that the Golden Knights have done okay against Edmonton, a couple games to overtime, and it's been all right, but I don't love it. So we'll get to that. Again, conlercpa.com is the website that sponsors all of these post-game Periscopes. Please, if you have any tax needs, hit them up and make sure you tell them that SinBin sent you, and they'll give you a free consultation. What else do I want to talk about? Penalty kill. I'm not as worried about it, I think, as the numbers indicate. Obviously, the one jumps up and whatever, some bullshit. It's funny because earlier today, I was talking to Petrangelo about the puck that hit him in the teeth. And I basically was like, did you think you lost your teeth? And we kind of started talking about that. And he was telling me how they're fake and telling me the wacky things. So, like, when you have fake teeth, I guess the ligaments actually pull the teeth up. And when you get hit, it kind of loosens it so they don't feel right in his mouth at the moment. And he's hoping that it kind of tightens up over the next couple of nights so he doesn't have to go to the dentist and get those fake teeth fixed again. But I was like, and then I said to him, I was like, and what do you know? It bounces right onto a guy's stick and they nearly score a goal off of it. And he looks at me and he goes, every single time. I'm walking in the locker room today. I'm like, geez, that one didn't even hit your teeth. And it ends up going in. And he looks at me like, what the fuck? Like, unbelievable. And like, I understand what people are saying. Don't jump. Like, I get it. Okay, don't jump. They can't do anything. I get it. Whatever. He's trying to make a play. He normally makes that play. That's the right idea. Hand pass that thing to the fucking sideboards and get it the hell out of there. It's unfortunate. It's disappointing. I understand what Cassidy's saying. Like, yeah, we gave up another shot from that same area. But if you tell me going into this game, they do not have Josh Morrissey. They do not have Ehlers. They're going to then lose Scheifele. I don't mind if we're saying Ehlers or Wheeler carries it and shoots that shot. I don't mind it. If we understand that that's going to be Brossoit's shot to stop, I don't mind that. You're down a player. You have to give up something. And that kind of seemed like that was the plan going in. I do agree with Cassidy in that maybe moving forward, let's pressure a little bit more. I thought the pressure was too high on the guy in the high slot. which ended up being Pionk. And that's because that was the danger area. That was a very difficult situation that if that was shots that they're getting consistently, that was a good way for them to score. It was probably the best way for them to score. But if you can get more pressure out there, and I would even be fine with kind of pulling guys out of position in many ways, and that's not the right way to put it, but like put more pressure on them to make them make these perfect passes with mismatched units and missing some of their most skilled players. I would assume we see a little bit more of that moving forward into game 5, where the Golden Knights, there's not a lot to be concerned about. There's not a lot that you look at and say, all right, well, what can happen here? Obviously, breakouts have to continue being good. They have been for a good portion of this series. It fell apart a little bit in the third period, but they didn't really generate too much on it. You don't want to do that. You don't want your breakouts struggling when they end up pulling the goalie, and then you end up with what happened in game 3. That's not all that concerning. Depth, the Golden Knights are in a good spot across the board. Obviously, the new guy that came in, Stanley, wasn't very good today. So it's not like they have some hidden gem on the bench that's all of a sudden going to be a problem. And I actually wonder if they go to Capobianco in the next game, because he does have some offensive upside and they're going to need it. Power play, I thought, was better today, like even better than the ones that was the 2 goals last game. Like, they were pretty simple passes, not a ton that happened that lead to those goals. We talked about that before. Today, that first power play was fantastic. Like, great opportunities, great chances in tight from far away, good passing, good player movement. Pietrangelo is popping up in a different spot. Like, I like seeing that. So that one was better. We can kind of build a little bit off of that one. Remember, there was a time when Mark Stone was in the power play where it was pretty good. So maybe it can, as we get forward, come along, and their penalty kill is good. So to have good ones against them. The other one wasn't very good. And then you end up getting that one that Carlson tips in or hits in with his skate or whatever, and just get a guy in the right area, put the puck on goal. And that's kind of how you got to get some of those. So Brossoit's giving up far side, high corner shots. I mean, like, good shots are good shots sometimes. And like, you're only so big. You can only cover so much of the goal without being completely all the way out on the top of the crease. And that's not necessarily what you're going to get most of the time out of Brossoit. He's a little bit more of a calculated goalie. He's called himself a process guy today. So I wouldn't say I'm concerned about it. I do still think that, like, he's not the type of goalie that's going to steal games. And I think you might end up needing that, especially if it is Edmonton. So that becomes a little bit more of a concern, that there's a potential for, like, these shots that are hitting top corner. You're like, yeah, tip your cap to them. Sometimes they're hitting top corner. Well, McDavid and Draisaitl do that constantly. And then they got Nugent Hopkins, and Hyman did it. Yeah, it wasn't that great of a shot. Edmonton, the other one, whatever. So I don't feel like they're in a position where he's suddenly the dominant option, that suddenly they found some, superstar that was sitting behind guys this whole year. I don't think we're at that point, but I do think, and I've been this way basically all season, if you followed me all season, is like, I'm pretty comfortable with all of them in there, because you just don't need to blow it. As long as you don't blow it, if the Golden Knights play a good game, these goalies are going to do enough to get them across the line. And Brossoit has done that over and over and over again. We're on 14 games, and he's lost 1 in regulation. And it was game 1 of this series. A couple go to overtime, whatever. But like, even if the numbers aren't quite that great, the stats are not that great at this point, whatever, I'm not that worried about. He's not going to kill you, and he's going to give you the effort you need. And the more he gets in there, and we've seen him quite a bit so far, the better I think he's going to get. It's just, can you go all the way without having a guy that can steal one here or there? I don't know. We're hopefully going to find out. And maybe he will start stealing them. I don't know. We haven't seen that yet. Any chance Hill starts? No. I don't see any situation that it's any other goalie. Maybe we're locked in here now, because I'm hoping they win game 5. I'm going to pick Vegas to win game 5. I think they're just as likely to win the game by a bunch than they are to do anything else. Like, I think they're certainly heavily favored. Maybe we have the William Hill odds. Let's see if I can pull them up as I do this. But like, I would assume they're pretty heavily favored. I think they're in a good spot to kind of jump after them, jump out early, and put them away. Let's see if we got it. Minus 170, Jets plus 143. I'd even pray maybe go a little bit further because of all the injuries they have. So yeah, he's in there. We assume he gets the next one, and then he's won a series. He's played good. So I don't know what it's going to take to get him out of there. I'd be surprised if that ends up happening. Yes, I completely agree with this. Carlson has been spectacular in this series. Centers have been good. And this is where I talked about before the series, and I'll end on this, is that before the series and before we even knew the series matchup, I said, look, the Golden Knights have good centers. The Golden Knights do not have elite, dominant, runaway with the game type of centers. And Eichel, I just don't think he necessarily does that. He does a lot of good things. He's a good player. He's going to do good things for the Golden Knights. I don't think he's take over the game the way that some of these other guys have the ability to do, namely the two that are potentially up next, which is McDavid and Draisaitl. It's not that. But I think the series and the matchup will matter. And you see in this series, especially with how it was lined up and now how it's falling as we move forward, when Dubois had his best game, the Golden Knights struggled. Then all of a sudden, their centers started picking it up. And the matchup of the centers was going to be important. But now, with Scheifele not there, despite being moved down, Nemesnikov is effectively their second center. And he was a center, but was playing with other guys, Wheeler and Ehlers, that were supposed to help and kind of take some of the load off the importance of that center. And they had an effective second-line center playing first-line wing, which gave them a lot of different matchup options, and I thought could have potentially been a problem. Lowry has been great. Lowry's been really good all series long. Fourth-line center, the Golden Knights have a huge benefit there. We're seeing that. Fourth line has gotten some goals. Kolazar has a goal. Barbashev has a goal. Barbashev has 2 other assists. Amadio has a goal, and he's down there. Howden's got a couple. So, like, they are getting some from that, and the centers have been better. As we get to the next series, it's got to be almost a complete reset because you're either playing the Kings, where your centers are going to get eaten alive the entirety of the series. Look at what they're doing at different times to Edmonton. Like, it hasn't happened across the board because Edmonton's really friggin' good. But at times, they have made it very difficult on them. It's going to look like that for the Golden Knights a lot if it's the Kings. If it's Edmonton, you're going to need 3 points a night out of your centers. So, like, that's going to be a tall task. So we got to reset once we get out of this. But for now, we're in a good spot. Centers have been good. Defense has been good. Goalie has been good. Power play's coming along. It's been fine, not killing them. Penalty kill hasn't been good, but I think the process of it will be fine. I'm not that worried about that one either. I feel pretty good. Like, you come up here at 1-1, you leave at 3-1. You got now 3 games to find 1 win. 2 of them are at home. You got a team that's banged up that I don't think has all that much belief in it and themselves anymore. And the Golden Knights are in good frame of mind themselves. They blew a game, still came back and win it, looking like they were headed down that same path today, and said, no, not happening today. Good game today, exactly what they needed to do, even with going down first. That is maybe one thing we need to keep an eye on. I think it's 3 out of 4 now, right? 3 out of 4, they've given up the first goal, and it's got to be careful because they've kind of gone in swings of that. A lot of getting it at the beginning and then kind of weren't getting it for a middle there, and then now at the end they were, and now here we are not getting it again. And yeah, you've been overcome it at different times. I'm not sure you want to keep doing that. And the starts are interesting because you got to be careful with how these starts have gone. It hasn't been great across the series, but come back, game 5. I fully expect to win. I fully expect this series to be over at the end of the next game, and Vegas night and day is not going to have to send me back up here. So that's what I expect to happen. But again, Golden Knights grab the series by the balls. Shout out to Chandler, who has also been awesome, by the way. Mark Stone making him awesome. And the last thing I want to talk about, I forgot. Brett Howden. I'm about to write about it right now. Crazy story. Brett Howden was here back 5 years ago. I don't know exactly which game it was, but he was here watching a Golden Knights Jets game, wearing white in the stands with his family and his buddies, watching playoff games here, not having any clue that 5 years later, he's going to score 2 goals, including the game, huge goal in the first period. and then gets the empty netter after kind of blowing another opportunity, but we won't go nuts about that one. But like, really cool story. His family was there. I posted the picture of his family there. It's really neat that, you know, another guy from this area. And I think that's another part of this series. Like, the Golden Knights have so many connections to this area that it does seem like there's a little bit of extra jump that they went down one, and it's like, all right, let's go going back up here. And in many ways, it's like, oh, here we go. It's, you know, let's play great. Let's play great up here. We got so many families around, so many buddies around, so many people. Kolazar is finding a guy in the front row. Howden's got his family down underneath the press box. Like, a lot of it's cool, and it worked out great. And again, I'm right about Brett Howden and how kind of Mark Stone's style is really helpful to get Brett Howden to be able to do some of the things that he can do. And I'll write about that in a little bit. Thanks again to Conler and Associates CPAs sponsoring all Periscopes on the road. We will continue every single road game. There will be Periscopes. I do have a layover tomorrow. We'll see if we can do something during the layover. I don't think I'm going to be able to rewatch the full of this game before we get to that point. So I don't think we'll do the rewatch thing. Maybe we'll do some sort of Q&A or something while I'm sitting there waiting. Got to eat too. So I don't know how much time I'm going to have on that layover. Hopefully something happens during the layover, not guaranteeing that. Otherwise, goalie interference is Wednesday. Next game is Thursday. So a lot going on. We get press availability before the flight. So a lot of time, a lot of good stuff going on. So that's it. Good night, everybody. Thanks to Conler and Associates CPAs. Thanks to Vegas Golden Knights. Jeez, I can't talk. Vegas Night and Day Heating and Cooling. You think I'd be able to say that? They pay me. We should be able to do it. Well, they pay for my travel. They don't actually pay me. But should be able to say that. I'm going to figure it out by the time we get to game 5. Good night, everybody. Golden Knights up 3-1. Let's go.